Yesterday. Hey, everybody. We are in the month of Sivan, which is a Hebrew month on the calendar. I like following the Hebrew calendar because it lets me know kind of what to do when and what to expect from the month. Anyway, applying it to business is a little bit different, but we do have a little something in, where is it, Exodus, because most of the front end of the year follows the Exodus story. So here's the point where they're getting to Mount Sinai. We're going to have Pentecost and all of that stuff going on. The giving of the Torah originally, and then later on in the New Testament, the giving of the Holy Spirit. So big month for revelation for us. But something that I wanted to talk about was Moses's father-in-law, Jethro, who came to visit and basically told Moses that if he didn't delegate some of his work, that he was going to wear out both himself and this people with you, for this thing is too heavy for you. And not that we're in charge of a whole nation or anything with our businesses, but it's still a good reminder that we are probably going to need to delegate sooner rather than later. And we always choose later when that's to our detriment and to our business's detriment. So we're going to just talk to you a little bit about what we've done or are planning to do. And, you know, even if you're a small size business, this is not out of reach for you. And it's probably something that you need to be thinking about sooner rather than later.
Yeah. They say that by the time you start thinking, hey, I need to hire somebody, it's 6 months too late. So I don't know how accurate that is, but as far as the time goes, but it is definitely more accurate than I would like to think.
Yeah, because when you decide that you need help, you're drowning and you don't have time to train people. And
Yeah.
so you just keep doing it yourself because it is a hassle to train people.
Mm-hmm.
Either that or you wind up onboarding, talent at a very high cost, and then they're still not oriented to your culture and your business and what you're all about. So
yeah. And it's one of the things that we talk about in our class. I don't know that we've mentioned it thus far on one of these videos for you guys. But part of the secret to that, not only for hiring people, but also just for your own sanity while you're doing things, is to systematize things, to really think things through and how can I systematize things. And that does a number of things. Number one, it makes you really think about your process. If you're always changing how you do something all the time, that takes a lot of time, effort, and energy. So just even if it's still just you, by having a system like this is how I do this, then that's going to simplify and accelerate your ability to do that. If you have a system in place, then you've got something that you can easily train others and have it written out. If it's tech-based, take screenshots. That's been something I've been really working on a lot more, just across my worlds lately. So, and I know that that's something Seneca's done very well. So.
I've been doing the little screencast videos when it's techie.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll just get on and walk through it once with them on a video tutorial.
Yeah.
And I know that writing it out is probably faster and easier for people, but it's not faster and easier for me. So
yeah. Well, and I've done both. I have the screen video, and for me, and to be honest, like writing things out, there's a lot of techie stuff that I do, and I do it not quite often enough to remember exactly how I do it every time. So I've started to write it out so that way I can glance back and just find that particular step that I'm like, okay, there's something else I'm missing here, and I can just go through and make sure that I've covered it all. So, but I'm a big fan of both, for especially for tech stuff, if you're training somebody else, because then they can kind of walk through it with you without you being right there.
The imperative part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and as many times as they want, then that way it's they can refresh their memories, every time
And
they
they
need
don't feel stupid because,
Mhm.
it's there if they need it and they don't have to
Yeah.
ask.
Yeah. And I think that is one thing that is something to keep in mind, that a lot of times you are so accustomed to what you do and how you do it, that there's a lot you kind of take for granted because it's second nature to you. So it can be very overwhelming for somebody kind of coming into your world.
Mhm.
And and it's like, we know that they can't be expected to know everything that we know, but then to like step back and make it to where they have the tools to succeed set up for them, is takes a
Yeah.
little bit more thought.
Mhm. Well, and then, the beauty of that is you can hire whoever you want to,
Hmm.
because, as long as they can read and follow directions.
Yeah.
And, for me, it's, I pretty much need somebody to be able to ask questions when they don't know instead of just forging ahead and screwing everything up.
Hmm.
That's kind of a
Yeah, it's a cost
pushing
savings
point for
because
me, but
yeah. No,
but
but
yeah,
then yeah, you can hire less qualified or less skilled
yeah.
people. So and then hopefully they can grow with you, and they can, as your system grows,
Mhm.
and they can grow into more advanced positions at higher pay. But especially in the beginning, you're paying 10, 15 an hour or 25 an hour. You're not paying 50 or 60 or an hour. So
Heck,
not
if you
that.
wanted to, you could get a VA from the Philippines
Mhm.
for very cheap.
Yeah.
I haven't done that, but that's
Yeah.
a thing, and depending on what you're handing off to them.
Mhm. Yeah. So
Um, Something that I like doing, I like hiring people who are already running their own business. They already think like a business person instead of like an employee.
mhm.
And, what happens is their business takes off and they kind of ditch me a little bit, but
Yeah, and
it
the other
works.
thing, yeah, the other thing to look for are people who grew up in households where their parents or siblings or other people in their close um, surroundings ran businesses,
Hmm.
because they have that same understanding um, of what it takes to run a business, and um, they're
Yeah,
a
they
little.
can anticipate what you need, so you don't have to say everything. But
Yeah, yeah, and I
the
think
other thing
they
that,
have a better understanding that time is money, and you can't just versus. And I've worked at places before where people clock in and they spend most of their day sitting around not doing the thing that they were hired to do. So
yep.
I can't tolerate that. As a person, I was always like, I give me something to do. I cannot be just sitting here.
Yeah. Well,
But
even if I saw stupid work, I'd calculate the return on investment and then I'd calculate my dollars per minute. I had it broken down by the minute. And I'm like, this is not worth me doing this. I should not be doing this.
yeah. Well, and that's something that to definitely keep in mind. Yeah, I know Perry Marshall talks about that a lot.
Yeah.
So, if it's your business and you're doing $10 an hour work, and you're neglecting the $100 an hour work or the $1,000 an hour work, then your business is gonna you are the limiting factor in your business.
Hmm.
So, and I think you found that just when you started hiring, that then it
Oh
increased.
yeah.
Yeah.
I I basically had to hire because I was in a day job still that I hadn't been released from. I was working 6 days a week and I was commuting an hour and a half a day. So yeah, I hired
Hmm.
and I got on the walkie-talkie and communicated with staff while I did my day job, and it wasn't a
Hmm.
great solution, but it kept me going for a lot longer than I would have been able to. One or the other would have folded right away.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it made business possible for me.
Hmm.
And then when I got out, I was able to keep my staff and just,
Hmm. And
relax
then
a lot. Yes.
Yeah, but I think that's one of the things where you saw the benefit of hiring sooner than later, because then they were already trained. So when the business started doubling and doubling and, just going
Yeah.
crazy, you weren't trying to onboard staff in the midst of trying to keep up with
Right.
orders and all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Yep, it is faster to run yourself ragged than it is to train people.
Mhm. It's a lot self-defeating though.
Oh, I can't even imagine. Yeah.
That's a good way to crash and burn. Well,
Well,
physically, mentally, emotionally, as well as your business. I mean, that
even
is
with
not.
staff, it was grueling for a long time. I was up at 4 a.m. and working on it before I went to work and working on
Mhm,
it on my lunch break. And
mhm.
anytime I had a second, that was where my head was. And I was communicating about something and then,
Yeah.
coming home and being back at it. And I used to say that I could have one of the 2 out of 3 sleep, shower, and
Yeah.
food. Pick 2.
Yeah. Yep. So that's not sustainable. So
No,
no.
but you are tougher than you think, and you find out what you're made of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I did kind of a similar thing when I was first getting started. There were kind of some other family issues going on as well, but my health crashed. So that's something that as my health is improving, I'm okay. That doesn't mean you get to
Right.
do this all over again. Like, no.
Mhm.
So how are we going to learn from this and not go back there? So, but and that's in fact, I think I've mentioned here before, I've recently purchased 2 local magazines as a new business venture, and that's been very. I've always built before. I've never acquired something that was already in motion. So that's been an interesting kind of learning curve to figure out, okay, how are they doing things versus how do I want to do things. But part of the reason why I purchased them was because it was easier for me to clearly see, okay, how can I hire people? How can I do exactly what we're talking about so that it's not right now? It's because I just bought them in April. So it's now June. So I've had it for like 2 months now. So a lot of it's been, just the transition between one owner to the next with, mailing lists and all that kind of stuff. But that's doing like I have literally, okay, I've got this done. And right now I'm still is this going to work the way I think it's going to work? So I haven't been able to, and she already had stuff. So I've got people already kind of in pocket that I might can hire. Whether or not they'd work well with me, you just don't know until you try on some of that stuff. But I'm templating pretty much everything that I'm doing so that way it's very easy to do, just like Seneca said. I'm going to do a screencast. This is how you do it. I have kind of written documentation. This is how you do this part. So that way I can hire whoever and quickly, hopefully get them up and going as soon as I have something that's working. So
Mhm.
I, it's real difficult for people that if you don't know what you're doing, because if you're keeping changing things, then that's just way confusing for people.
They're going to be
So
very frustrating to work for.
yeah.
Plus, your customers or clients or whoever look at that and think you're flaky and you don't know what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Which in part is true. You don't know what you're doing, which is why you keep trying stuff. But and that that's part of business.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but you want to be able to be a person of integrity in your business as well as your life, and do what you say you're going to do, and have your technology support you and not frustrate you, which is a bit of a toss up on some days.
Yep. I think that's what I want is to be my next hire, is somebody who just does tech. I don't care if all they do is communicate with the tech support with whatever company I've got to deal with
Mhm. Yeah.
and do whatever the tech says. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you just fix this for me so it works? Great. Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Or
Yes.
at least chase down all of the problems and troubleshoot with whatever guru you got to talk to and whatever language they're used to talking in. And
Yes. Which even though it may be English, it's not the same English that we
yes.
yeah, I'm going round and round with tech support on one thing right now, and I'm like, okay, I have said the same thing 3 times now. I'm not understanding. Like this isn't a difficult concept. So yeah.
Yeah.
So
One of the things
our
that I
advice
think
to you:
people,
hire soon,
yeah.
systematize.
As far as hiring soon, I know a lot of people think that they can't hire yet because
Mhm.
they don't have the hours to support somebody, and that's just a big fat lie. There are a lot of things that you can do. You can go get a VA
Mhm.
that works for multiple different people.
Mhm.
Um, I do really well with stay-at-home moms who don't have a lot of time, but they want to do something and have a little bit of extra money coming in, and they want flexibility above everything else.
Yeah.
That works really well for me to get help.
Yeah.
And
And
like I was saying,
really, yeah, because you don't need somebody like 20 hours a week or 30 hours a week. If you need someone 3 or 4 hours a week, as long as you're both in agreement. So
right.
it's just a matter of making that clear in your advertisement, or when you're putting the call out,
Mhm.
hey, friends and family, got a couple extra hours, or whatever it
Yeah.
is. So, but that's and on the indie author magazine side, we have a lot more people hired, um, because it's the same type of thing. They're not working full-time hours. They want the
Yeah.
flexibility. They want, to be able to focus in on these things. And again, partly it's we've got a million things, million plates spinning. So that way they're just in charge of a couple,
Yeah.
which is less confusing for them. So
Well, and I usually start people with something small and then we
mhm.
increase as they get the hang and I start to see who they are and
Yeah,
where they fit well.
yeah. And that's, I think, for both Seneca and I, you don't necessarily want you don't want this to be a dead end job for people. Yeah, I mean, it may be tedious tasks that aren't, but you want it to be something they can grow into. You want it to be something that's fulfilling for them, not just to be generous and to be a wise steward of your people, but also that they're going to be better employees for you. So there's kind of that's in their best interest. It's also in your best interest that happy people work better. So not that you don't have expectations for what they get done. I mean, happiness isn't the be all end all. They've got to earn their keep.
Right.
So, but
But, with a few hours, it shouldn't be that hard to get that.
mhm,
Just have a little bit of something that
yeah,
you need to hand off and not have to think about so much anymore.
yeah,
And that was another thing with hiring people who are already entrepreneurs. Their business may not really be taking off yet,
mhm,
and they still need some supplemental income, but they're not ready to go get entrenched in a full-time job either.
yeah,
And then there are the people who really aren't in a state where they want to work, but they don't want to leave a big gaping hole in their resume. So, if they're
mhm,
working for you for a few hours, then that's something that they can put down.
mhm,
Because
yeah,
nothing says that, oh, I worked 40 hours a week for this person. No, I did this, I did
mhm,
customer service here.
mhm. And legitimately, if they could do it for a few hours, they could do it for a lot of hours. It's
Yeah.
yeah, yep, absolutely.
Yep. No excuses now. Yay, you get stuff off your plate.
Yeah. And it is much better when you can get people onboarded and say, okay, that's something I can just check in with them periodically and make sure that, it's going according to plan. They're doing the thing, but yeah, it's not on you. It is a big relief.
Yep. Well, it just frees up your headspace to go off in a different direction that will
Mhm.
actually move your company forward.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, the $1,000 work or
Yeah, because you
$10,000
can't
work.
just run on that hamster wheel and get nowhere.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, on Perry Marshall's $100 an hour work, $1,000 an hour work, a lot of people think, oh, I don't have any work that is like that. But I've learned to look at that as a cumulative thing. Like, what can I
Mhm.
do this morning for an hour that's going to make me $1,000? Not today, but long
Right.
term, you know?
Mhm. Well, and both you and I have talked about that
Yeah.
writing in general, but also books are part of that equation for us. And no, it's not a short term thing. So, but in the long run, it can be and and it's not just the income from the writing, but it's also then, it's all the things that kind of go from that. So you
Yeah.
have, like the blog posts, and then you turn it into a book, and then that goes out there, and then people find you all the other things that you do. And, it just kind of, it's a
It snowballs.
yeah, it snowballs, and it's like a top of funnel thing where people can kind of come in and come into your world. And then, and it's a little bit more difficult to, like, Dan Kennedy talks about your lifetime customer value a lot in that. So if you know that, oh, well, they typically they read my book, then they buy, this or this, and then they do this, and, and then I've got them. So, they're with me for 10, 15, 20 years, and that's going to be worth, 10 grand over that period of time. They're not, or whatever it is, just a random number, but then the price of writing that book, or the investment in writing that book, is worth it. So, and yeah, like Seneca said, it's not that it's worth it today, but to do and I think systematizing your business is also that type of thing. It's not that it shows up on your balance sheet today, but it's going to free you up. It's going to enable you to hire people. So then you're doing these other things, and then you just kind of continue to multiply and grow.
Yeah.
So, and that's, I can't remember who said it, but they were talking about that when you first start your business, you are wearing all the hats. So, and they like actually wrote out like an organizational chart. If you've seen like the big ones with the, here's the CEO, the CFO, the CEO, like all the hats, and like your name was underneath them. And they're like, okay, your goal is to start removing your name and putting other people's names in all of these positions. So if you think of it that way, because then that enables you to grow. And you may not have any desire to be, your Fortune 500 company with 5,000 employees or something like that, but it will enable you to choose the lifestyle that you want to lead.
Well, and really there's not that much difference because you've still got to
Mhm.
have all of those slots filled.
Yeah.
It's a little different from business to business, but you've always got the CEO on top, and you've got a janitor in there somewhere, and
Yeah.
you've got marketing, and you've got,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
that's all you in the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah. Graphic design, organizational, doing the thing, whatever it is that your business does. So yeah, I mean, all those positions have to be filled. So, and depending on, and I think if you think about it in those kind of terms, you can decide, like Dan Kennedy, he does not like having employees. He's had like up to 50, 60 employees. I can't remember the exact number, but he has one lady that lives across the country from him. And he's like, and that's the way we like it. But he has made choices and decisions in his business because that's how he wants to live his life. So he has sold off sections of his business that require staff to other people, and he keeps his hand in, and I'm not sure how they work out all those logistics. But as far as operationally, he's not involved in the operations, so he isn't involved with the staff. So, you know, it'll help you as you're and he's thinking more in terms of like, you know, having an office staff are like in the same facility as you, but so you just can think about as your business grows, like, you know, how is that going to work for me, and how is that going to how we're going to do that?
Well, and that's a good point. I was thinking last week, you know, I had a terrific week, as you know. And I was like, oh, you have to be so intentional about making decisions to create the life that you want. Because otherwise you just drift and you wind up with whatever, and whatever may not be anything remotely like what you would
Yeah.
prefer. It isn't for most people.
Because entropy just takes over, you know, I mean, and and I think there's so many scriptures in the Bible that kind of speak to that, you know, choose this day whom you will serve. Choose, you know, you make like conscious choices are kind of a big thing.
Yes.
Because it's too easy with culture, with everything else. A lot of it's screaming at you that like you have to be busy all the time, you have to. And I am somebody that likes to be doing things all the time, but there's a difference between, and I'm still learning this, but just doing something to do something versus being productive. So there's a lot to unpack here. So
We could go on and on, but the reality is we teach this stuff in our class. So
even as we are walking it out ourselves.
yeah, it's
So,
a constant, you know.
It is because every time you have to continually make those choices. So
We have a year-long class
mhm.
full of assignments, and it behooves me to go back through that every year and do my own homework, because there's always, I've up leveled somehow, or I'm seeing things differently and I'm getting something new out of it. And we have people repeat the class too for that reason.
Yeah, and it is very helpful to specifically set time aside to do those things, to review, okay, this is what I said I wanted, is that still true? Because, you know, you change, your desires change. I know throughout my life, I'm like, okay, can't believe I ever thought I wanted to do that. But
well, you find out what it really means to
do that. Like, maybe not. And then, you know, how am I, but intentionally throughout the time. And I think that's one of the things we focus on in the class, is not just setting those goals, getting that vision from God for how you want your business to, and how he wants your business to run, to what he wants to
your whole life, because your business is one facet of it. So your business needs to support your life and not your real calling, if that is not your business. Yeah. Because you can't be stuck in a job or in some business that isn't going to go the way you want to go, or the way that God has planned for you to go. Yeah. Yep. So, and sometimes it's a function of time, that, you know, and flexibility with your time, that becoming a business owner enables you to have, so that you can do the other thing. You know, oftentimes your business is a part of your ministry. And we definitely both believe that it can be all of that. So it just is, it depends on who you are and what it is supposed to be for you. So yeah, so we welcome you to join us if you'd like to. So there'll be a link. We can start you off with a 5-day challenge. So there's a link to that. $5, $1 a day. Cheaper than a cup of coffee. So natural time management even in that one.
Yeah. So, but that it'll help you get the a lot of the vision work is in that one. So we go into a lot more in the year-long class, into a lot more of the practical steps on how to get from here to there. But the vision work will be extremely helpful for you. So there'll be a link in the bottom of the, or somewhere in the description, wherever the description is, wherever you're watching this. So have a great day, y'all.